The urban environment is tough on small city cars, but few are better equipped to deal with it than Toyota's Aygo. Around since 2005, it's been much improved in recent times in the face of tough new competition, with a fresh look and even sharper running cost efficiency. In short, there's plenty of life in it yet.
Toyota knows how to build small runabouts. We take that as a bit of a given, but so massive are the costs of creating a vehicle from a clean sheet of paper that it's not surprising that when the idea for their Aygo citycar was first mooted in 2001, Toyota decided to enter into a cost-sharing partnership with PSA Peugeot Citroen. Everything on this design was to be created from scratch. Engines, bodies, transmissions, even a new factory in the Czech Republic to build not only the Aygo but also its close cousins, the Citroen C1 and the Peugeot 107. While this was good news in terms of cost sharing, it caused a political furore amongst the French. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy once famously said, "To create a factory in India to sell Renaults in India is justified. To create a factory in the Czech Republic to sell cars in France is not." Well, let them drive Aygos would seem to be the ideal solution. And sure enough, since its launch back in 2005, this car has sold very well, not only in France but right across Europe. There are plenty of British roads too, with many UK buyers seeing this Toyota as being more distinctive and upmarket than its Gallic design stablemates. Nor did it harm Toyota that at its launch in 2005, the Aygo gained the coveted Top Gear Car of the Year award, or that its 1-litre petrol engine in 2010 gained the International Engine of the Year award in the sub-1 litre class for the 4th year in succession. All very impressive, but by late 2011, the competition had got a lot more difficult in the city car sector, with tough all-new rivals like Volkswagen's Up with its Seat and Skoda clones, the third-generation Fiat Panda, or even attractive Korean contenders like Kia's Picanto. Hence the need for this heavily revised Aygo, the one we're looking at here with its fresher looks, extra equipment and lower running costs. Will it all be enough for this car to continue to carve out a niche for itself in a really closely fought market? Let's find out. It's tempting to think that city car buyers are an undemanding bunch. Tempting, but wrong. Whether you're sitting in traffic on the way to work, or picking the kids up from school, or simply getting around the shops, you're not going to want to spend that time in a car that's poor to drive. We've had companies like Peugeot and Proton try to sell us lowest common denominator motoring in the past, and by and large, we just weren't interested. What we really want, it seems, in a very little car is something, yes, it's affordable and easy to drive, but also something that feels like it's had a bit of development budget thrown at it. What we want, in other words, is something like a Toyota Aygo. First impressions are promising. You sit fairly high in the car and all-round visibility is pretty good, with only the thick rear C-pillars offering any kind of blind spot. The driving position is also good. The mirrors are clear and all of the controls fall easily to hand. The steering wheel adjusts for rake, with the speedo binnacle moving with the column. Pop the key into the ignition, fire the 1-litre 3-cylinder engine, and it settles back into a modest background thrum. Toyota reckons that this is still the world's lightest production engine, and indeed the whole car weighs in at just under 800 kilograms, which means that the 67 bhp you have available to you doesn't feel as underwhelming as it looks on paper. The spec sheet will tell you that rest to 60 will occupy 14.2 seconds on the way to a top speed of 98 miles an hour. What that won't tell you is how nippy this car feels off the line, how quickly it can change direction, and how easy it is to park. It genuinely does feel idiot-proof, and if you specify the optional semi-automatic multi-mode transmission, you won't even have to worry about a clutch pedal for your left foot. The standard 5-speed manual gearbox isn't bad though, with a long throw from the long stick but a positive feel. But if I was schlepping through the traffic every day, I think I'd pay extra for the multi-mode transmission and give my left foot a rest. Multi-mode isn't actually a proper automatic gearbox, it's a manual gear change with an electronic actuator, and like many of these systems, you can help its smoothness quite a lot by lifting off as you go through the various gears. Alternatively, you can use the paddles on the gear change column. Toyota has tweaked the rear shock absorbers on this latest Aygo, and to be fair, it doesn't do at all badly for a car with a wheelbase of just 2.34 metres. Yes, you'll be slightly inconvenienced by bigger potholes and poorly profiled speed humps, but that's only to be expected. There's a decent amount of give in the front strut suspension, and the generous sidewalls on the tyres mean that small imperfections are well filtered out. It doesn't do too bad a job out on the open road either, though you'll need to be using your mirrors quite liberally to get out of the way of faster moving traffic on long motorway inclines. The steering weights up quite well at speed, though can feel a bit rubbery when you're tackling a sharp bend, where you'll need to be comfortable with adopting some rather jaunty lean angles. The Aygo does resist crosswinds quite well though, which isn't something that can always be said of many of these short and tall city cars. The engine can be a little intrusive when worked hard, but in most scenarios it's not too vocal, and the sound it makes is a good deal more characterful than that of many of this car's rivals. Overall levels of refinement are much better than before, thanks to extra insulation added under the bonnet and changes to the clutch system that have reduced noise and vibration. There must be something intrinsically, fundamentally right about a small capacity 3-cylinder layout, because virtually every city car worth its salt is now adopting this kind of configuration. It's in town, of course, where this car really excels. You've got an impressively tight 4.73 metre turning circle, so throwing a sneaky U-turn to bag a parking space on the opposite side of the road is no problem at all, and it also means that you can edge your way into the tightest space. You've got a lot of steering assistance at such low speeds too, so the wheel twirling that goes with parallel parking is also easy. And because of this Toyota's modest width, you don't get those heart-stopping will I, won't I moments when you're going through city width restrictions. This car may have been around since 2005, but it still looks reasonably fresh, and the restyled front end isn't trying too hard either. As ever, the wheel at each corner proportions look just right, and a number of the facelift features are borrowed from those that characterise the larger Yaris Super Mini. So you get this wider front grille with space for integrated front fog lamps where fitted, and a big trapezoidal air intake here. Plusher models get a further emphasis of the facelift with built-in daytime running lights that are set into the lower part of this grille. Now, you might also notice, if you've owned one of these before, things like the more slender top part of the front grille, the restyled bonnet, the dark tinted privacy glass that's fitted to some models in 3 and 5 door form, and the smarter 14-inch wheel trims. The whole effect is more grown up and less cutesy than before. There's little change at the rear though, where as before an opening glass panel replaces the traditional tailgate. Now, Toyota has listened to feedback from owners and changed the angle at which the parcel shelf rises so that you get better access to the load space beneath. The disadvantage of having this glass panel rather than a proper tailgate is that you've got this large lip over which items need to be lifted. And Volkswagen, Seat and Skoda city cars really suffer from the same issue for the same reason. Still, once you have your packages in place, there's 139 litres of space.
Now that's a little less than you might get in other city cars, but given that in models like this you don't tend to use the rear bench that often, and you can push it down, in this case to free up as much as 751 litres, then that shouldn't be too much of an issue for most buyers.
After all, if 751 litres isn't enough for your shopping, then it might be time to change your lifestyle rather than your car. If you really are one of those people with a pathological inability to pack light, then you might want to consider the aluminium roof rack system. The roof rail's tailor-made for this Aygo as an option. These have aerodynamic bars and an easy clip-on facility, offering a level of versatility that you might not expect from a city car. Of more importance, perhaps, is this Toyota's people-carrying potential. Now, back in 2005, when this vehicle was first launched, it was amazing to most people exactly how much space the designers had managed to fit into something quite so small, thanks to the wheel at each corner design. And it's still only 3.43 metres long and 1.63 metres wide. Now, despite an extra 15 millimetres of length in this facelifted version, that still makes it shorter than a Mini, yet two adults can still fit reasonably comfortably here on the back seat, as long as they're not too long-legged. They might object, though, to the lack of proper wind-down windows. You only get this pop-out glass arrangement. I might even think of cramming 3 kids on this bench back here, but unfortunately only 2 belts are actually provided, and a third one isn't even optional. If you are transporting kids a lot, then I'd really go for the 5-door model. I tried transporting children in the 3-door variant. I ran it for a while, but the backs of the front seats got very scuffed and messed up very quickly. As for transporting adults on the back seat here, well, the only issue I found really sitting in the back is the head does feel very close to this rear glass, which can be a bit unnerving when you've got a huge Arctic bearing down on you. Up front, the look and feel of the fixtures and fittings has been improved with a smarter dark grey finish for the upper and lower sections of the dash, and a redesigned steering wheel trimmed in leather that adjusts for rake up and down, but not for reach in and out. If you go for the multi-mode automatic model, there are also paddle controls on the steering column. There are plenty of cup holders. There's 2 in front of the gear stick and 3 more in a little space between the seat and the door. You don't get a glove box, but you do get a big storage bin where it would normally be, and little trays for oddments, 2 in front of the gear stick, 1 behind it. The whole dash itself is smart and refreshingly non-boring, thanks to things like this coloured speedometer surround. And there are nice touches too, like the way that you can specify the air vent surrounds in either silver, orange or black. And you can also do the same with the door speaker surrounds. They come either in silver or orange. You've also got this rather nice translucent finish for the heating and ventilation controls. Now, prices range in the £8,500 to £11,000 bracket, and though there's only a single 1 litre petrol engine on offer, the availability of both 3 and 5-door body shapes and a choice of 2 different types of transmission, the manual box and the 5-speed multi-mode semi-automatic setup, well, that all means that most potential buyers can be satisfied. There's a £350 premium to go from the 3-door body style to this 5-door, and there's a £500 premium if you want to progress from the 5-speed manual transmission to the 5-speed multi-mode semi-automatic. So how do those sorts of figures stack up against obvious rivals in the city car sector? Well, let's start with this Toyota's near identical design stablemates, Citroen C1 and Peugeot's 107. Now, all of these 3 have the same basic package on offer. The single choice of a 1 litre petrol engine, 3 or 5 doors when it comes to body style, and either manual or semi-automatic transmission. At first glance, this Toyota appears to be just a few £100s more than its French counterparts, and the Peugeot is certainly the best selling of the 3. But it's worth remembering that if, like many buyers, you're after an affordably priced 5-door variant, then this Toyota actually undercuts the 107. The only other 4-seat rival in this segment that, like this Toyota Peugeot Citroen design, limits you to 1 litre petrol power is that which you'll find badged as either a Suzuki Alto or a Nissan Pixo. Now, the Suzuki Nissan design, it's Indian built, it will save you as much as £1,500 in Suzuki form, but you really do pay for that saving with a cheap feel and a very basic design. Which is why most potential city car customers for this Aygo who aren't considering its Citroen and Peugeot stablemates will probably be looking for something still affordable but slightly more sophisticated. Now that something is probably most likely to be the model of the moment in city car land, the one that you'll find badged variously as either the Volkswagen Up, the Skoda Citigo or the Seat Me. So how does this Toyota compare to those in terms of price? Well, if you were to opt for the Seat or the Skoda variants, then you might be looking at a saving of £700 to £800 over this Aygo. Mind you, that's a saving you'd probably lose when it came to resale values. This Toyota works quite well when it comes to those. In terms of the Volkswagen and comparison, you're probably looking at just a few £100, the Toyota being slightly more expensive. So what other recently introduced city car alternatives might you be comparing this Toyota to? Kia's Picanto perhaps, which in 1 litre petrol form is similarly priced against this Aygo, but perhaps lacks a bit of its character. Or maybe Fiat's 3rd generation Panda, which looks good value against this Toyota in 5-door form, but has a couple of key disadvantages. First, that you can only order it with 5 doors, and secondly, that its entry-level petrol engine is a thirstier, dirtier 1.2 litre unit. And that's a similar problem you get with Hyundai's i10. It's only 5 doors and its entry-level engine is a 1.2, which can't begin to match the running costs and balance sheet returns that you get with this Aygo. Other city car options, to be honest, can be even less appealing. They're either pricier, dirtier and limit you to a 5-door body style. Step forward the Vauxhall Aguila, the Suzuki Splash or the Chrysler Ypsilon. Or pretending to be funky and fashionable, they're even more expensive and limit you to just 3 doors. And here I'm thinking of cars like the Ford Ka, the Smart 42, the Renault Twingo, the Mini First and entry-level versions of the Fiat 500. And of that little lot, I should point out that only the very impractical Smart can match the running costs of this Toyota. So let's say you've done your homework. You've weighed up all the options and you've decided that an Aygo is indeed what you want. What can you expect for your money? Well, it's a bit disappointing to find things like side rubbing strips, a 50-50 split folding rear seat and a rev counter, fairly basic things that are not included on the entry-level variant, but you do get them on plusher models further up the range like this one. And all variants do come complete with things like a 12-volt interior power socket, a rear wash and wipe, and speed-related electrically assisted power steering, plus a decent quality MP3 compatible CD stereo with an audio input socket. Further up the range, of course, you get a better quality stereo, a 4-speaker DAB digital radio system that's Bluetooth compatible for your mobile phone and has got a USB socket so that you can connect in digital music players. Further up the range, you get niceties like alloy wheels, daytime running lights, front fog lamps and Bluetooth phone compatibility. I'd also be tempted to fork out for the extra protected pack, there to prepare you for the scuffs and scrapes of everyday living. So you get things like rear parking sensors, mud flaps, carpet mats, side protection mouldings, as well as a protection plate for the rear bumper. I'd also be tempted to fork out for an iPod connector too. Safety-wise, it's a pity that the entry-level variant doesn't get ISOFIX child seat fastenings, but they are fitted to models further up the range. Unlike its French counterparts, this Aygo doesn't offer the option of ESP stability control across the lineup either. But you do get twin front airbags. Side airbags are only available on plusher models, as well as ABS brakes with electronic brake force distribution to make them more effective, and cornering stability control to help you with the twisty stuff. In Euro NCAP safety testing, this Toyota scored 4 stars out of 5 for adult occupant protection, 4 stars for child protection, and 2 stars for pedestrian protection. The Aygo has always been a cheap car to run, and this improved model drives down day-to-day costs still further. Not only is fuel consumption improved, but emissions have been pegged right back too. If you choose the manual model, theoretically you should be able to achieve 65.7 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle, which is a useful improvement on the original Aygo's 61.4 miles to the gallon showing. More significantly, emissions are improved from 109 to just 99 grams per kilometre, which puts this Toyota in a bracket where road tax is free, as is entry to the London congestion charging zone. One word of warning though, choose your Aygo with the multi-mode semi-automatic transmission and emissions will dip to 104 grams per kilometre of CO2, which won't net you quite the same kinds of savings. Fuel consumption will fall by about 3 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle. Still, that remains a much better showing than you'll get with a full automatic gearbox of the kind that you'll find on some other city car models like, say, Suzuki's Alto or Nissan's Pixo. As for residual values, well, they may not be quite as good as the Volkswagen Up, but once you've had a chat with your friendly local Toyota dealer, you'll probably end up spending less on your Aygo in the first place, which would really sort that out. And residuals are much better with this Toyota than you'll find on its Citroen and Peugeot counterparts. Insurance is rated at Group 3 on the 1 to 50 grouping scale, which is a little more than some rivals, but again not by enough to be really significant. It still means that this Toyota is a great choice for newly qualified drivers or for youngsters looking for their first car. Accident damage is really easy to fix because a lot of the body panels are designed to pop straight off, and parts prices are inexpensive too. An extremely comprehensive 5-year warranty caps things off. There aren't many companies that are as pragmatic as Toyota. It seems to come up with an eminently sensible solution to any given challenge, and in the Aygo it has a car that for years was the best choice in its class. And today, well, it may not suit you if you're one of those city car buyers always after the latest and greatest thing. But if you're somebody that likes to put a bit of research into your purchase, then look a bit closer, and this car still makes all kinds of sense. It isn't perfect, of course. There could be more room both in the boot and for those on the back seat. But that won't be a deal breaker, I think, for many buyers in this sector. They'll be more interested in running costs that remain top class in this segment. And it'll be a nice bonus that the Aygo is fun to drive in a way that seems to have been excised out of some of its newer rivals. Cars that seem efficient, but often come across as strangely joyless. The 1-litre engine is still characterful, the interior appealingly cheeky, and residuals remain up there near the very best. In other words, here's a Toyota that can still appeal to the heart as well as to the head. It feels a little smarter than its design stablemates, and after years on the market, it's still one of the benchmarks in its class. For a city car of this kind, you can't ask for much more than that.